வர.
சார் சார் கொஞ்சம் அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க சார். உங்களால் அன்மியூட் பண்ண முடியுதா? சார் உங்களால் அன்மியூட் பண்ண முடியுதா?
எஸ் சார், பண்ண முடியுது சார். வீடியோவும் கொடுக்கவா சார்? வீடியோவும் இருக்கு.
இல்ல இல்ல, நான் வீடியோ இருக்கா?
வீடியோவும் அன்மியூட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன் சார்.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் ஒரு நிமிஷம் ஒரு நிமிஷம்.
வீடியோவும் வந்து நான் பாஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கேன் சார்.
அது எப்படி பண்ணுமோ பண்ணிக்கங்க நீங்க, சரிங்களா?
எஸ் சார்.
ம் ம்
ஓகே சார், ஓகே சார்.
ம். சார் உங்களால அன்மியூட் பண்ண முடியுதுன்னு மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் சொல்லுங்க சார். இப்ப நான் மியூட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். மியூட் ஆல் கொடுத்துருக்கிறேன்.
எனக்கு ஆகுது சார்.
ஓகே ஓகே சார். ஓகே சார். ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ சார். தேங்க்யூ. அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும். சார் அன்மியூட் பண்ணிக்கங்க சார். மியூட்ல இருக்கு.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Distinguished guests, honorable correspondent, respected principal, teachers, and dear parents. It's truly a pleasure to welcome you all to this insightful parenting session. Dear parents, today you all gathered not just as individuals, but as a community committed to the well-being and growth of your children. Parenting is a journey filled with joy, challenges, and continuous learning. In the next 2 hours, you will be exploring valuable insights, share experiences, and gain a deeper understanding of the art and science of raising resilient, empathetic, and confident individuals. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Sheikh Muhammad Qasim ibn Sulaiman, is here to guide you all to this ensuing discussion. Open your minds, ask questions, and embrace the wisdom that will undoubtedly contribute to the positive development of the families. Jazakallah khair for being here and kindly make the session one of the shared wisdom and collective growth. Enjoy this session. Let me now call Muhammad Yusuf to introduce our chief guest.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Distinguished guests, honorable correspondent, respected principal, teachers, and dear parents. It is an honor to welcome you all to this parenting session, where we are privileged to have Mr. Sheikh Muhammad Qasim Ibn Sulaiman share his wealth of knowledge and expertise. Mr. Sheikh Muhammad Qasim's journey, marked by his commitment to Islamic education, is truly inspiring. From completing his GCSEs to obtaining qualifications in Islamic theology, his academic achievement reflects a deep dedication to learning. He completed the Alamiya course in 2010. The respected Sheikh is a graduate of Darul Uloom Leicester. His role as a teacher at Darul Uloom Leicester and Madrasa and Nasiha further underscores his passion for imparting knowledge. Not only is Mr. Sheikh Muhammad Qasim a prominent educator, but he also serves as the Chief Operating Officer at the Nasiha Publications. His leadership in managing educational projects has significantly contributed to enhancing Islamic studies education, making it accessible and enjoyable for children in various settings. Mr. Sheikh Muhammad Qasim's impact extends beyond traditional education. As a freelance web designer and computer science instructor, he combines his passion for computing with a commitment to education. His qualification in computing and AET reflects a versatile skill set that he utilizes to benefit students and teachers alike. We are fortunate to have a chief guest who goes beyond conventional roles, having trained over 3,000 teachers in the United Kingdom and abroad. His dedication to professional development and training sessions has left an indelible mark on the field of Islamic education. In conclusion, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Mr. Sheikh Muhammad Qasim, for joining us today. Parents eagerly anticipate gaining insights from his wisdom and experiences in the parenting journey. Let me now hand over the session to our esteemed guest.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كلامه المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. وقد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: ألا كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عنه عمله إلا من ثلاث: إلا من صدقة جارية أو علم ينتفع به أو ولد صالح يدعو له. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم، ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما، والحمد لله على كل حال. Respected brothers, elders and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank you for taking the time out today and for attending a session which is of great importance. And it is a session which is hopefully going to assist us in looking at our future leaders in a different way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with many blessings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا, that if you were to try to count and enumerate the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you would not be able to count the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are countless blessings, more than the grains of sand on every beach around the world, more than the amount of stars in the skies and the universe, more than any innumerable item that we can think of, are the blessings and bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. And amongst those blessings and bounties, one of those blessings is our children. A great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we are able to not only see in our day-to-day life and enjoy, but at the same time, we are also able to nurture them into becoming someone great who we will be proud of for our future generations, to be the leader of our future generations also. And so we ought to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this beautiful ni'mah and beautiful bounty that He has blessed us with. And for this, firstly, we say, Allahumma laka alhamdu wa laka shukr. That, oh Allah, I am thankful to you for the children that you have given me. There are many people who are longing and crying for children, yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not written them to have children. And there are many who have children, but they are crying because of the fact that their children are not obedient. And there are many who have children and the parents engage in something known as helicopter parenting, where you're there when you want to be and you're not there when you don't, hovering around, right? And so the children grow up with the community rather than the ethos and the adab and the akhlaq of the home. And so, as parents, we have many duties, not least of which is thanking Allah, of course. But at the same time, it's of educating and nurturing our children. One of the best type of nurturing, the best type of gift, shall I say, that a parent can give to their child is good akhlaq. And this good akhlaq is not going to come by itself. It's not going to come by the child going to an Islamic school. You know, we see, being a teacher myself, you usually get to meet parents who will say, well, my child comes to the madrasa, comes to the school, Islamic school, and we want you to look after him. Or we want you to look after the child and make sure that, you know, they learn all of the basics of deen that they will be able to practice for the rest of their life. And yes, of course, it is the duty of the educational institution to provide that education, to be able to assist the child in recognizing who their creator is. But ultimately, the duty lies with the parent. The duty of looking after and nurturing the child and doing the tarbiyah of the child lies tremendously with the parent. And the way we've got to look at it is we've got to look at it as a triangle of success. And the triangle of success includes the teacher or the institution, it includes the parent, and it also includes the child himself or herself, in which we need to make sure that everyone works together. Everyone works together in order to achieve the purpose that we have been set out to achieve. It's like when you see the birds, they fly in a formation. Why do they fly in a formation? It's because they are actually assisting the bird behind. When the bird at the front who is leading gets tired, that one will move to the back and it will fly under the power of the wind that the ones ahead actually are leaving behind. And this is from the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from which we are able to learn that we have to lift each other. We can't rely entirely on the child to say, you better come out good. If you don't become a good person, if you don't become a hafiz, an alim, a doctor, an engineer, X, Y, and Z, then I'm not going to be very happy with you. We can't entirely rely on the child because, of course, a child is a child and a child needs nurturing. And at the same time, we cannot fully rely on the educational institution that I put them into school, I put them into madrasa. Now that is sufficient. They will inshallah learn whatever they need to learn. That is also not sufficient. And it's also not sufficient to say, I've got them at home and I will teach them everything at home. It is a collective effort, an effort that we are able to work on together as a community. And when we do that, you will see children that will come out at the other end who will be successful individuals, who will be strong individuals, who will be the leaders of tomorrow, inshallah. And so as parents, we've got to take a look at how can I become a parent that is going to set my child up to success. You know, in the sunnah of our beloved messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there is guidance for us in everything. So if you were to look specifically for parenting, you might not find a hadith specifically about parenting. There are, of course, a hadith for that. But the way our deen works is that our deen works on principles. You have those principles, and as long as you stay within those principles, you are able to create a successful model. You know, there is no one way, that my way or the highway. Now, I can't tell you that whatever I'm telling you today will work for you. Every child is different. Every child, you know, as parents, that out of the 2 children or 3 children or 4 children that you may have, each one is also very different. One of them likes to be very quiet, whilst the other one is very active and loud. And I just had a parent meeting on Friday before I flew out. And in that parent meeting, I said to the father that, you know, your son, the only issue I have with him is that he doesn't speak at all in the classroom. You try to ask him a question, he's very quiet. So he says his 2 older brothers took his voice from him because the 2 older brothers are so active and they are so sociable that now the youngest one, he doesn't feel like he can do anything. And so he's a very different child. And dealing and looking after such a child is, of course, going to bring its own challenges. So looking at the blueprint that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. That, O you who believe, save yourself and save your family members from the fire of Jahannam. So what is saving yourself and saving your family members from the fire of Jahannam? It is indeed effectively ensuring that your child has the right education. As a parent, it is our duty and it is the right of the child upon us that we provide them with the right type of education so that we set them up for success. And so, there are many ways of going about doing this. One of the first things I would suggest, one of the first things that we would like to keep in mind is that children will learn from what they see. Children will learn from what they see. If they see us doing something, then they will automatically learn from what we are doing rather than what we are telling them. So if they see us in the evening, that we're sitting at home and we're like this, sitting on the phone, and we're saying, oh, this, that, everything, and we're talking to each other, and everyone's in the phone. And then now the son or the daughter's got their phone and says, "Oi, put the phone away. We're sitting here together. Why are you not talking? Why are you on your phone for all the time?" And so whilst you're on your phone and you're saying that thing, of course, it's not going to make a difference. At the same time, if a father or a parent smokes and tells their child that, you shouldn't smoke whilst he's smoking right in front of his children, then of course, the effect is not going to be as it ought to happen. That doesn't mean that we don't educate our children with regards to the harms and the negatives of all of this. Of course we do. But at the same time, we have to lead by example. We have to lead by example. If we don't lead by example, then our children will follow our ways. It's not like, do as I say, not as I do. They will always do what we do and not what we say. One of the biggest challenges that parents face is that you tell your child something and they don't want to do what you're telling them. They don't want to do it. Why? Because they see you or someone in the family or someone around them not doing things just when they are told to do them. And so children are very, very good visual learners. They will pick up on cues. They will pick up on different things that we do. And if we're not careful of it, then they will go ahead. And they're very innocent also. Maybe they even sometimes divulge secrets of the house in front of their teachers or in front of their parents. And things that have been going on at home, the teacher will be able to know. And so it is very, very important. Just a small incident, you could call it a parable. A little boy, a young boy, he went up to his father and he said, how much do you earn per hour, father? So his father got really upset with him. He said, what are you talking about? Why are you asking me how much I earn for? Anyway, and the boy, he said, you go back into your room. And so he went into his room. And then after a little while, the father, he got a bit, he came over himself and he got a bit upset that he upset his child. So he went and spoke to him and said, oh, you know what? It's $20 that I earn. So he said, father, can I have $10? $10. And so he gives him the $10. And then the child gives the $10 back to the father and says, can I buy half an hour of your time now, please? Can I buy half an hour of your time now? You can understand what this child is coming at. If the father and the mother are extremely busy, so much so that they don't have the opportunity to spend time with their children, then the children will unfortunately fall into this cycle of attention seeking. As teachers, we see this many times, where children in the class will misbehave. That misbehavior is not because a child is a child and they like to misbehave. Rather, it is because they are not receiving the love, the care, the attention that they crave and deserve. As a young child has some basic needs. Of those is, of course, food, and of those is looking after them and cleaning them and all of these things. But one of the important key points is also love. And a child who has not been given love. Some time ago in our city in England, in Leicester, we had a session, a training session on the topics of addiction, on why do people get addicted. So there were ulama that had gathered, and they were listening to an expert in the field, a doctor in the field. And one of the points he mentioned of why people are addicted is because they have faced childhood trauma. Childhood trauma, and trauma could be of different sorts. And one of the points that the doctor had mentioned, it was because many of these addicts who go on to hard drugs like drugs and alcohol and things like that, and many of them, you'd be surprised, are Muslims as well. May Allah protect us and our children. And when they were asked, they never felt loved by their family. They never felt loved, especially, the doctor mentioned this, by their father. Boys, they never felt loved by their father. The father never said to their child that I love you, beta. Oh, my son, I love you. And because of the absence of something in their heart, because this is something that a child craves, as they got older, in order to cope with that trauma, they decided to use something that they became addicted to. Nowadays, the addiction is different because it's not just drugs and alcohol, but it is also addiction of social media and addiction of the mobile phone. This is also a way of hiding from the reality. When a person, they use the mobile phone, for example, they're in a very down place, very upset. It happens to children, it happens to adults also, that when they are in a very down place, when they are feeling low, this one is low. So it happens to adults and it happens to children also, that when they are feeling low, they will try to find something that will keep them busy. And so in order to do that, they will, for example, pick up their phone and watch some videos, maybe go into YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, and they will try to hide their pain. When they hide their pain, they feel happy, watching a few things, doing a few things on the mobile phone. They will feel happy for a moment. That happiness is a result of a hormone in the body called dopamine. Now this dopamine is released to say, you know what, I'm feeling happy now. And this is the same thing when a person takes drugs, a person takes alcohol, when a person smokes cigarette, or when they do something good. For example, they enjoy climbing mountains, and they climb to the top of the mountain and they feel, mashallah, I've achieved something. And that is also a rush of dopamine where they feel extremely happy. But what happens is after you finish from your phone, and a lot of us might have even noticed this with us, not just children, that after you finish watching, you might have been on the phone and scrolling, and then you finish, then you feel a little down. You feel a little upset. You feel a little empty. And that is due to the fact that the hormone has gone away. And now what happens is the next time, when you feel upset, down, and empty again, then we go back to the same thing that made us happy the first time. When we go back to it, now the same amount. For example, last time, half an hour was sufficient. Now, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and it will be more will be required in order to get the same amount of dopamine to be produced. Eventually, as you may know, that the cycle gets to such an extent that a person becomes dependent. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is to say that we want to attribute positive experiences for our children to be able to enjoy. We don't want them to enjoy negative experiences. And the way that will happen is by affirming our love for our children, is by doing activities with our children, is by being present in our children's life. You know, one of the, as the children come home from school, and they will bring you a small handout, a little paper, right? And this little paper will have maybe their name scribbled and drawn. And they say, oh, Baba, look, very nice. And then you think to yourself, wow, that doesn't look very nice, really. Maybe we can just put it somewhere in the corner. And so we have the tendency to say, okay, you know what, let's push it away. But to the child at that moment, that was a special item. This is something that they have worked very hard for. And so we've got to enjoy it with them. When we enjoy it with them, the next time they will feel like coming back to us. The next time they will, once they've achieved something better, something greater, something more special, they will want to come back to us and share it with us. And if we just put them aside every time, oh, I'm busy right now, come back later on, then we will see that eventually the cycle will become such that our children will no longer share their experiences with us. And one of the things that we see as the children get to the teenage years, then they don't want to share time with their parents. As they get to the teenage years, they don't want to sit around with the family. Instead, the children want to do their own thing. They want to go and be with their friends, and they want to be on their phones. And all of these things, which we don't want them to do now, they want to do. But if we build a relationship with our children from a young age, we will realize that over time, they will know where the love is, where the kindness is, where they are celebrated and they are valued, and they will continue to come back to that specific place. And that needs to be the parents. That needs to be the parents. When we give them this opportunity, this happiness, that look, you come with the parents and you have a chat with us, you talk to us, and we value you. You will not find children going and finding that love somewhere else. You will not find the children going and finding that attachment and that value somewhere else. And so, we usually use the terminology of firefighting. That instead of firefighting, which is when a child gets to 13, 14, 15, 16, and going to the Moli Sahib and going to the Imam Sahib and say, oh, my child is not behaving, is not listening, is very disruptive, very this, very that. This is firefighting, because all these years, if we have not paid attention to our children, if we have not looked after them, then we're trying to solve the issue. It's going to take a lot. When a person is set in their ways, it's going to take a lot to get that person back to how you want them to be. So instead of going that far out already, how about we put in place certain safeguards, certain things that will allow our children to become the people we want them to be. And the first of which I shared with you already, is to be a role model. To be a role model ourselves. Now, what we give importance to today in front of our children, that is what they will give importance to tomorrow. I'll give you a very simple example of the condition of the people of South America. And this is a reality that has happened and the people there are facing. South America includes countries like Argentina, Chile, Guyana, and these countries there in the south of America. Over 100 years ago, just about 100+ years ago, groups and groups of Muslims from Syria and Lebanon and places like that had traveled. They traveled for economic reasons. So they traveled there, they got a job there, they were working there, etc. They built masjids also so that they could perform salah, so that they are able to have some sort of a connection to their deen. But eventually, if you look at the state today, Then there are masjids which have been converted into storage houses. There are masjids that have been converted into barns. There are masjids that have been converted into libraries. And if you go there, you will still see the signs of the masjid existing there, but it's no longer a masjid. And the reason for that, in fact, before going to the reason for that, there was a researcher not too long ago from America. She's a daughter of a great sheikh from Syria, if I'm not mistaken. She was doing research about this whole PhD research. And she found out that a staggering number of people who had migrated had left the fold of Islam within 100 years. Just guess, try to guess how much percentage of the people that migrated had left the fold of Islam within 100 years. It was 96%. 96% of people had left the fold of Islam within 100 years. Do you know what 100 years is? 100 years is 3 generations. 3 generations. My father, me, and my children. 3 generations. Which goes to show that my great-grandchildren would basically not be Muslim if the effort is not put there. There was once some brothers of Jamaat, they went there and they were looking in the phone book. And in the phone book, they found that there's a name there with the name Abbas, Abbasi or Abbas. So they thought, let's go and visit this person. It sounds Muslim, so let's go. So they went to visit and they found an elderly man there. And so they said to this elderly man that, look, we're here and we're inviting people towards Islam, this X, Y, and Z. So he says, I think, you know what you should do? Come back later on. I will invite my whole family. So he said, they went away. He invited his family. They came back and the family was waiting there. Many of them, visibly, they had crosses, like, you know, the necklace with a cross on it. And you could tell that they were Christians. And so the brothers, they sat down. And the elderly man, he started speaking to the people. And he started to explain this, and this. And after he finished, the brothers, they asked that, you know, you had invited us to speak to the family, but it looks like you spoke to the family yourself. So what is it that you actually spoke about? And what is it that you shared with them? So he says that this is my whole family, my children, my grandchildren, their children. And so I was just telling them about our history, about the fact that we are all Arabs. And not only the fact that we are all Arabs, but we are Muslims. And our parents used to look like these people pointing at the group. And what's more surprising is that they were from the family of Abbas radiallahu anhu, the uncle of our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They were living in this place, and majority of the people had left the fold of Islam. And the reason why I'm mentioning all of this to you is because of this one very fact. It is that the masjid is a means of protection of today's generation. Today's generation will go to the masjid and will benefit and will learn. But tomorrow's generation needs to be educated with the basics of their deen, with the basics of their religion. And if we don't give importance to the deen for our children today, they definitely will not give it importance tomorrow. So if we want our children to remain on Islam, we want their children, our progeny, to remain on Islam, then we have to give importance to it. We can't be saying that, okay, namaz, you know, once a week, Jummah is enough. Or masjid, whenever we get a chance, you know, that same boy that I was telling you about earlier, whose father I met, the last time he went for salah in the masjid was last Ramadan. Last Ramadan, that is almost 10 months ago, he went to the masjid. And it is just like this, when children start to lose interest in deen. It doesn't happen overtly and openly. It happens covertly, internally. And in Urdu they say is dhahni irtidad, that it is a mental game. You know, the society has changed massively today. Society has changed in ways that we haven't been able to imagine. I remember my grandfather, may Allah grant him Jannah, he used to say, you know, one day will come when people will be able to see each other on the phone and they will be able to talk to each other. And of course, that day has come. The day has come when we can talk to each other live across the countries, and it is, you know, it is as if you are there. Technology has changed. Before, if you wanted your child to be on the straight and narrow, to be on the right path, then you could easily keep them in the company of your family, and you could easily keep them in the company of your community, and you can be mostly sure that your child will be safe. If you wanted to go somewhere, you could leave your child with the uncle, with the auntie, with a neighbor, and they will be fine. If you are busy, the children will go play outside with the children of the street, and they will enjoy themselves outside. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. The best, shall I say, for lack of a better word, and the cheapest babysitter and childminder is the mobile phone. You know, if you are busy, here you go, you can play. If you are busy, then here you go, watch a video. If you are busy and the children are crying, here you go, watch this. The biggest childminder and the free one. You know, you don't have to pay anyone. You have the phone anyway, you just give it to them. In the olden days, you would never invite anyone that you don't know into your house, let alone people that you don't agree with, people that don't share your values, people that don't share your ethos. You would never invite them into your house. You come inside my house, enjoy your time with my children alone. Will we? Never. You know, if someone that doesn't follow our ethos, we'd never put our children alone with them. But now with the advent of the mobile phone and the smartphone and technology, yes, there are very good reasons to use it also. However, using it in an uncontrolled manner has its dangers, massive, huge dangers. And what I was mentioning to you about Zahni Irtidad is happening through this, where children find that if I want to do something, the only thing stopping me is my deed. The only thing stopping me is the religion that my parents follow. And if you look at what the Christians did with their children, they would send them one Sunday a week to the Sunday school. And eventually you see the growing trend of Christians leaving the fold of Islam. The growing trend. If you look in the UK, 2021, the census has happened. And in the results of the census, the amount of people who declare themselves atheists has grown exponentially, massively. Not because they want to become atheists, but because they become indifferent. Indifferent. It's okay. Who cares about it? And this is slowly creeping into the Muslim children. Why is it creeping into them? Because they're watching a video where someone is enjoying themselves. They're watching a video, someone is doing this, talking to girls, drinking alcohol. They are playing and doing things that they shouldn't be doing, breaking things, and all sorts of videos, you know, they appear online. And it is unchecked. The child watches and watches. It seems like harmless fun. But eventually, you are allowing your child to make their mentality based on what they watch. Just like if you left your child with a bad person for a year or 2 years, you can be sure that that child would have learned bad habits from that person. The children are on the phone regularly and constantly, every single day for years on end, how can we expect that they are not learning bad habits from what they are seeing and watching? So as parents, it is essential for us to know what our children are doing online, what they are watching online, and to regulate it. One of the questions earlier on, we were talking to the children, and one of the very good question one of the children asked, and they said, how can we ensure that we use the internet in an Islamic manner? And the answer to that, it actually lies with the parents. And how does it lie with the parents? It lies with the parents such that you don't allow your children access to the internet in private. If you allow your children to access the internet, the mobile phone, the videos in private, then today there will be no problem. Tomorrow there will be no problem. But I guarantee you, a week down the line, a month down the line, a few months down the line, your child will be doing things that you definitely do not agree with. And whose fault is it? It's mine and yours as the parent, because we have the control. As a teacher of computer science myself, I study and look at various figures who are in the technology world. And you'll see that the people who are in the technology world, who know the effects, the harms and dangers of misuse of technology, they don't give their children access, unattended access to digital devices until they are 16 years old. Until they are 16 years old. I am a big proponent of this point. To say if your child doesn't need a phone, don't give them their own phone. Don't give it as a reward. To say, mashallah, beta, you done very well this year. You came top of the class. You got first position. I'll give you a phone. You've just signed off your death sentence. Don't give your children phones. And if you allow them to use your phone, or you have a laptop or a tablet at home, then it must be utilized in an environment where you can monitor what they are doing. Sitting in front, in the sitting room, in the living room, where there are people going and coming. Not in private. Because believe me and you, this is where they will go for advice. This is where they will go to complain. This is where they will go and get help for themselves. There is an entire place on the internet, and I don't recommend you go there, but it is a forum of ex-Muslims. A forum of ex-Muslims. So I happened to chance on that one day, and I thought, let me read what's going on here. And one of the stories is really heart-wrenching and really makes you feel like crying. There was a girl, she's writing this on the internet, anonymously. No one knows who she is. And she says that I wear the hijab, I dress like a Muslim, I perform my salah. Not only that, but my family, every night they wake up and they perform tahajjud salah collectively. They perform tahajjud salah collectively together. And I wake up with them and I pray tahajjud with them. And the worst part is, she says that I actually don't believe in any of it. She is living like a Muslim, but even her own parents don't know that she is not a Muslim. What is Islam? Islam is belief in the heart. And if she's not believing in the heart, then she's not a Muslim. And where is she sharing this? She is sharing this online. Online with people who are saying to her, no problem, it's fine. It's good to be like this. You should ask questions, inquisitive, this, that. And we are here to support you. And no one's going to try to make her understand. And she's living in front of her parents. She's living just like a Muslim is. And where did this happen? It happened online. Which is why, as I mentioned again, I implore you as parents, that if you are going to give your children access to smartphones, to tablets, to technology, and it is necessary, of course, it's like a knife. You know, if I tell you that don't ever use a knife, you would laugh at me and say, what do you mean? We need a knife to cut onions and potatoes, and right? I can't say don't use a knife. Use a knife, but use it responsibly. Similarly, technology is here to stay. We can't say to someone that don't go online, because it's not possible to live without it. So what I would say is that allow the children to know what responsible use is. One thing that we as parents sometimes do, and we usually are shooting ourselves in the foot with that, is we set really tight rules. And when the child asks us, oh, why can I not do it? And the answer that we give is because I said so. Because I said so. And so when we say, because I said so, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So what will happen? I'll give you an example. If your child, if a child comes back home and the mother asks, hey, beta, you went to school, did you pray your Dhuhr Salat? Did you pray your Dhuhr Salat? And the boy says to his mother that, no, Mom, I didn't pray my Dhuhr Salat. Should the mother be happy, or should you be happy, or should you be angry? What do you think? Should you be happy or should you be angry? But I would say that in this situation, you should be happy. Why should you be happy? Because he didn't pray Salah? No. Because he said honestly to his mother that he did not pray. It's very easy for a child to say, and we see this many times. In this school here, mobile phones are not allowed. Right? In our school, in England, they're not allowed. In Netherlands, I think, because in Netherlands, the whole country, they're putting, or France, I think, they're putting a ban on mobile phones. In the UK, the government is considering banning mobile phones inside of classroom, inside of schools. It's already banned inside of the classroom, but inside of schools, they want to ban it. But we see time and time again, a child will come. Just recently it happened. A child will come, they have a mobile phone, they submit it to the office. And the office thinks, mashallah, Khalid has given his mobile phone inside. Now Khalid has got 2 mobile phones. The second mobile phone is the real one that he wants to use. And now everyone thinks Khalid is a very good boy. He's giving his mobile phone in. But in fact, he is keeping another one. Similarly, children will try this with their parents. Their parents will say, you know what, this mobile phone at 10 o'clock at night, you must leave it in my room. So they will come and put a mobile phone in your room, and you'll be very happy, mashallah, my beta is very nice, very good boy. He puts his mobile phone away at 10 o'clock. But if we've created an environment where they feel like they have to lie in order for you to be happy with them, then they will just do that. They will lie to you and try to make you happy. Just the same as the example of salat. That if we make an environment in the house where we just become strict and say, do it because I said so, then now if they haven't done it, they know that you're going to get angry at them. So might as well lie about it and get away from that anger. So instead of getting angry, what should you do then? So that's when it comes in about explaining the importance, the purpose. If we set a rule, if we set something that we want our child to do, then it shouldn't be because I said so, but it should be because it's good for you. Because of X, Y, and Z reason. If you say to your child that I don't think you should have a mobile phone, and they cry to you, and they really, really cry and tell you, I really want one. My friends will have one, all of this. And instead of shouting at them and telling them off, say, no, you cannot have it. It's not possible. Explain to them the harms of having a mobile phone. Explain to them why they can't have a mobile phone. And of course, eventually they will still be upset. It's not that they will not be upset, but we build resilience within our child to accept when someone says no to them. One of the big problems we see nowadays as well is children have never had someone say no to them often enough. And it's always yes, yes, and yes. When they come and someone says no, they get very upset. So we've got to build a resilience, the strength within our children. And the way to do that is by explaining to them what we are doing, why we're doing it. And you will see there will be a much higher rate of acceptance from our children compared to just shouting at them and telling them off. So going back to our original point, which was the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us these children. these wonderful young children that we have. They have a right over us that we give them the correct education, and that includes an Islamic education. And in order to allow them to become the best version of themselves, we have to be a role model for them. Whilst being a role model for them, we have to guide them and assist them in becoming a better person through explaining why we do something and why we don't do something, and allowing them an opportunity to take part in events, to take part in activities which will allow them to grow personally, physically, as well as spiritually. If we see an opportunity for our child, in the UK, this happens often, where in the holidays, there is holiday clubs. Now, of course, parents, they love their children, but they love to send them off because they get some free time also, right? So in the holidays, the parents will find a club where the children will be sent and they will actually learn something new, different. For example, in our own madrasa, not in the school, but in the madrasa, we have various clubs. We have baking club for them. We have arts and craft for them. We have archery club for them. We have different activities where boys and girls separately on different occasions, they can come and they can busy themselves with a good activity. If as parents, we don't give our children this opportunity, then the children will of course be glued to their devices, and they will of course have nothing better to do except to be busy with things that they're not supposed to be doing. And so as parents, we look out for these opportunities. How can I keep my child busy and active? There's another club that's coming out, and I'm sure children will also enjoy it, which is coding. Coding and to write code, software development, but it's more gamified, as games that they will learn, but they're learning a new skill, and they're doing that during the holidays. There are also clubs for karate. There are clubs for various things, and in an Islamic environment, there is swimming that takes place. Giving your child positive experiences. You will see that as they grow up, they realize that I had fun with my parents. I went out and I enjoyed myself with my parents. And now when it gets to the point when they can become independent, they will still stay dependent on their parents. They will still want to be connected with their parents. Contrary to that, if they find the parents to be, as we said at the beginning, helicopter parenting, you're just a parent, they want to eat, here's the food. They want to go somewhere, okay, let's go and drop you off quickly. They want to talk to you, say, come back to me later on, I'm just a bit busy, I'm going to my job. And so if we just be a parent that just looks after their basic needs only, then we'll see that eventually the time will come that the children will find a place to belong somewhere else. When they find that place, they're no longer going to be yours. They're no longer going to enjoy being in the house. They're no longer going to enjoy being with their parents. And so as parents, it's a huge, huge task, a very big responsibility. And of course, we don't get it right. Usually the first child is, as we call it, the guinea pig, the Tesla, because the parent is also learning. How can I become a better parent? And that can only come through experience, but not just experience. Nowadays, there are many, many courses, many books available in which we are able to learn how to be a good parent before we become a parent. And if we're already a parent, then we can always learn new skills and new ways of managing our children's behavior. Really work with the psychology of your child rather than working with them physically. That if you, as we said, firefighting, something happens and we try to deal with it. Work with the psychology of your child. The way your child likes certain things, do those things. The things that your child doesn't like, introduce them to them. For example, my daughter just recently, she started disliking vegetables. And I'm sure there are many like that, right? So instead of saying, okay, no, it's fine, don't worry, it's okay. No, instead of that, we now educate them and teach them how to enjoy this food also. And so we've got to work in such a manner that the child becomes an embodiment of the parents' ideas, hopes, and wishes. And we will then see that eventually the hadith of our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he mentions إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانِ, that when a person passes away, all of their good deeds will stop. You know, as human beings, we all got to go one day. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ الْمَوْتُ كَأْسٌ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ شَارِبُهُ وَالْمَوْتُ بَابٌ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ دَاخِلُهُ. That death is going to come to everyone. It's a cup everyone must drink from, and it's a door that everyone must enter through. But one day, when we go away from this world, the legacy that we will leave is our children. The legacy that we will leave is our children. And when we go into our graves, there's no salat, there's no zakat, there's no hajj, nothing. Inside the grave, whatever we've taken before, whatever we've prepared for, that is what's going to come with us, with the exception of three. The hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells us that when a person passes away, all of their good deeds will stop, except from three avenues. From three directions, the good deeds will continue, coming from outside the grave into the grave. The first is إِلَّا مِن صَدَقَةٍ جَارِيَةٍ. Sadaqah jariyah, we've heard of this term many times, and a lot of the times we think sadaqah jariyah is to build a school. Of course, this is also sadaqah jariyah. Sadaqah jariyah is to dig a well for a poor community. Yes, of course, this is also sadaqah jariyah. But on top of that, as parents, we can also attain sadaqah jariyah by educating our children so that they continue reciting the Quran, so that they continue being a good human being, being respectful, courteous, kind, loving, and caring to the community. That is also sadaqah jariyah. So as a parent, we are able to attain this reward. Every time your son or your daughter goes and does something nice for someone, assists someone, helps someone, looks after someone, because of the good qualities you left them with, that will come into our graves. That will lighten up and brighten up our graves. So the first is إِلَّا مِن صَدَقَةٍ جَارِيَةٍ. And the second is أَوْ عِلْمٍ يُنْتَفَعُ بِهِ. We share with our children knowledge. Of course, this relates more to teachers, but at the same time, as parents, there's lots of knowledge and experience that we have, that we ought to and we require and we need to share with our children. Children don't learn everything by themselves. They need to be educated and taught. Yes, there is an amount that they will pick up by themselves, but there is so much more that we need to teach them, educate them. You know, our teacher used to tell us, and we've heard this many times, I'm sure, that as a parent, I should be the first one to teach my child Surah Fatiha. Why? Because this child is going to read Bismillah and Surah Fatiha every day, 5 times a day, in every rakat of their salat, for the rest of their lives. So if I was the one that taught my child Surah Fatiha first, then I will be rewarded for every single time he recites or she recites. And this will only come from having that mentality, that mindset of how can I be the one to attain all of this reward? And how can I prepare? You know, we have to become selfish sometimes. And as parents, we want to prepare for our hereafter. Because on the day of Qiyamah, your child is not coming to save you. Well, at least on the day itself. After the reckoning has been done, if you've made them hafiz of the Quran, for example, then they can save you by the golden tickets that Allah will give them. But eventually, essentially, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says of the day of Qiyamah, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. Every person will be running away from each other. Even a child will be running away from their parents on the day of Qiyamah. No one is going to come and help that person, help us. The only thing that's going to help us is if we've prepared our children for when we've gone away, so that they live their life according to their deed. so that they live their life according to the sunnah of our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. If we prepare them beforehand, and then we go away from this world into our graves, the reward will come. They share it with their children. That reward will also come to us. They share it with their children, and that reward will come to us as well. And it will continue coming to us. The treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are vast. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith Qudsi, لَوْ أَنَّ أَوَّلَكُمْ وَآخِرَكُمْ وَإِنسَكُمْ وَجِنَّكُمْ قَامُوا فِي صَعِيدٍ وَاحِدٍ فَسَأَلُونِي فَأَعْطَيْتُ كُلَّ إِنسَانٍ مَسْأَلَةً ما نقص ذلك مما عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا أدخل البحر. Allah says, my treasure is so vast, my treasure is so big, that if the first of the human beings till the last of the human beings, the first of the jinnat till the last of the jinnat, they were to stand in a huge open place, and they were to ask for anything that they wanted. فَسَأَلُونِي, they were to ask in whatever language they want to ask, in whatever way they want to ask, and for whatever they want to ask. They were to ask, فَأَعْطَيْتُ كُلَّ إِنسَانٍ مَسْأَلَةً, and I was to give every single one of them every single thing that they want. That would not decrease from the treasure of Allah, even the amount when the needle is dipped into the ocean and the droplet that comes at the end of that needle, not even that much is decreased from the treasure of Allah subhanahu. This is the treasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're talking about. So when we say that your sadaqah jariyah from what you teach your children will be unlimited, your children teach their children, who teach their children, who teach their children, and it continues to go. All of that reward, innumerable, uncountable, will continue to come into our book of good deeds. So that is the two we've covered. We said there was three, right? The first is sadaqah jariyah. How can we get reward into our grave after we passed away? The first is sadaqah jariyah. The second is ilmin yuntafa'u bih, knowledge which is being benefited from. And the third avenue, the third way that we can get reward into our graves is the point that we have been sharing and talking about all this hour plus long. أَوْ وَلَدٍ صَالِحٍ يَدْعُو. We leave behind a pious child who makes dua for us. We leave behind a pious child who makes dua for us. We've heard many stories, and usually parents, even my parents, sometimes they would send me all the bad stories, right? So there's a video of this son, he did this to his mother, and his daughter who did this to their mother or father. And there's so many stories like that. One such story, the father passed away, he was extremely rich. Before the father's body could even be buried, the brothers were already quarreling and fighting who should get what. And this is a result of no knowledge and no education. No importance given to the deed. To say that our father has passed away, and before even burying our father, the first thing that we're worried about is money. Why? Because the value of money was in the heart of the children. The value of deen wasn't there. The value of the father was also not there. Maybe if the father lost all of the money, they would have also given up on their father. And as parents, it is essential that we work on our children such that when we go away from this world, they continue to pray for us. How are they going to continue to pray for us? We can't have wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is that, oh yeah, I sent them to madrasa, they'll become good, no problem. It's like saying I'm hungry and somehow the food will get into my mouth. Of course, it's not going to happen. If I'm hungry, I will have to go and cook the food, and I will have to go and take the food and put it into my plate, and I will have to pick the food up and put it into my mouth, and I will have to then chew the food, and the body will have to do its thing to digest the food, and then the benefit of that food will be realized. Similarly, We can't have wishful thinking with our children to say that I've done my bit. I sent them to madrasa, I sent them to Islamic school, and this is enough. You know, they're going to become allama and sheikh, or they're going to become a good Muslim. That's not sufficient. The work never stops. The work never stops. And if we want our children to pray for us when we have passed away, then we are going to have to make that effort today. And that effort is going to bear fruit after we have gone away from this. When there is no one looking over them. When there is, when we go from this world, no one's going to tell them, son, have you prayed your salah? Have you done this? Have you done that? Go make salam. No one's going to tell them. Now it is going to be what we've left them with. If our child is doing the things that they're supposed to be doing out of fear, then the first thing they will do when we're not watching is they will leave those things. If they're performing salah because of fear, then when you're not watching, they won't pray their salah because it's for fear and for the parents that they're doing it, not for themselves. And this, and I end with this, inshallah, and I'd like to take some questions, hopefully, as well. The point about tarbiyah. What is tarbiyah? Tarbiyah, it comes from the word Rabb. Rabb, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who sustains, looks after, nurtures every single human being. Tarbiyah is the process of allowing a person to become self-motivated. To become self-motivated. Self-motivated means there are no external factors anymore. Of course, initially, there will be external factors. There will be things that we will have to do. For example, rewards and sanctions. And I don't like to call them punishments because a punishment is to make a person feel low down. A sanction is that you take a reward away, for example. Like, your child, maybe they have some games that they play. Or you're going to go for X, Y, and Z trip. Or you're going to have ice cream with everyone. And because they did X, Y, and Z, you didn't, you told them not to do it, and they still did it. Now there is a sanction. Sanction is you remove some of those privileges that they might have. So they face the consequences of their actions. So having rewards and having sanctions, putting them together, you will see that the children will be able to then build an internal ability to self-regulate. Otherwise, if we're always just pushing them around, do this, do this, do that, do this, do that, then there's no tarbiyah that's happened. A person will become a hafiz of the Quran. But if there's no tarbiyah that's happened, then this hafiz of the Quran will not only forget the Quran, but he will start to disrespect the Quran also by their actions. A person can become alim. And if tarbiyah is not done, knowledge is not done, non-Muslims who know Sahih al-Bukhari, who know Sahih Muslim, who know the tafsir of the Quran, is their tarbiyah done? Of course not. So not having knowledge is not tarbiyah. So just sending them to an Islamic school, sending them to a madrasa is not tarbiyah. Tarbiyah is when they will internalize and become self-motivated. Otherwise, it becomes like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. That it becomes like a donkey who is carrying books. What does a donkey do with books? Nothing. So having knowledge is not going to be of benefit. And this tarbiyah will only come by encouragement from the parents, from the teachers, from the community, where we work together to build an internal capacity to self-regulate. Firstly, you pray salat because if you pray salat, right now in England, it's winter time, of course here as well, but in England at winter time, your salat is at 7:30 a.m. And that is usually in the summertime, it's at 4:30 a.m. So at 7:30 a.m., and there's Christmas holidays right now for 2 weeks, many masjids across the country, they have this they have this competition. And the competition is that for the full 2 weeks, whichever child comes and gives registration at Fajr Salah, there will be a reward for them. So there will be many children, people, ulama, they're sharing There are pictures of children, mashallah, coming for Fajr Salat. So now what are they coming for? They're coming to pray Salat, or they're coming for the reward? Well, of course, they're coming for the reward right now. And they're praying their Salah also at the same time. So initially, you start off with rewards. And there is, of course, sanctions as well. But then beyond that, eventually, you want to aim to go to a point where our child does what they're required to do without needing to be told. That it becomes second nature for them. And the only way it's going to happen is if we as parents are going to be open with them. We're going to guide them and assist them. We're going to understand the challenges that they face. And we're going to be able to assist them into becoming better people. If we engage in a parenting style which is draconian or overly lenient, then both of these sides will have its own problems. If we are going to become a parent who is not a good role model for their own children, then we're going to have our issues. If we become a parent who is too open to technology and allows their children unfiltered access to anything and everything, then we're going to have problems. And if we want to protect ourselves from these problems, then we're going to realize the first way to protect yourself from the enemy is to know the enemy. And the idea of today's session is to recognize and realize some of the harms and ills that are available in society and that our children are falling prey to, and then to see and take away some tips. Hopefully we've been able to share with you some tips that you can take away from today. Usually when we do teacher training sessions, what we say is whatever we've covered today will expire in 24 hours. Because they say in Arabic, كثرة الكلام ينسي بعضه بعضا. That when you have too much talk, then one item will make you forget another. So today we have shared a number of points with you, various things we have shared with you, and maybe some of it was of benefit. I don't expect that you will remember everything I have shared. In fact, research says that in the first hour, 50% of knowledge is forgotten. So we've been here for 1 hour. What we started with at the beginning, 50% is already gone. And in 24 hours, 70% is forgotten. So what I would suggest is that from what we have taken today, we only choose one item. One item. Either be a good role model for your children. Be available for them. Allow them to speak to you rather than you being the parent and they have to just listen. Or be the one that is going to regulate technology within the household. Or be the one that does activities with the children. Take them to the masjid. Take them into Islamic programs. Take them for physical activities and engage them in something good. Choose one thing. Choose one thing and start with that. Otherwise, we come here, we listen, and bayans, they keep happening all the time. We go home, mashallah, Mawli Sahib gave a good bayan. Very nice, alhamdulillah, and then everything is gone. So we take one point. That one point, we then try to bring into our lives. We then try to improve ourselves. We try to improve our children's experience. And we will see, inshallah, through our efforts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up many doors. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't bring about change within a people unless they themselves initiate that change. We have to take one step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will see the doors will start to open up. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us barakah, allow us to have a wonderful time with our children, and allow our children to become beacons of light and rays of hope and leaders of tomorrow, and protect them from the evils and the fitnas and fasad of shaitan and this time. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow them and to allow us entry into Jannatul Firdaus and protect us all from Jahannam and from his wrath. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Inshallah, I think we'll take some questions.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh, for the very valuable time and very valuable wisdom that he has shared with us. Inshallah, now what we will do is inshallah, we'll have the Tamil translation, a brief translation of what is just been discussed. And after this, inshallah, we'll have a question and answer session. We'll have mics going around, both the fathers and the mothers, so that inshallah you can ask your questions. The paper that is being distributed right now, we will have a separate announcement. These papers are not for your questions. It's for another exercise. So inshallah, we'll come back to you with the exercise separately. For now, we'll have the translation by Dr. Dawood Bhai.
நமக்கு முன்பாக அதிகப்படியான தீனுடைய விஷயங்களை பகிர்ந்து கொண்டார்கள். அவர்கள் இதற்காக லண்டனிலிருந்து பிரயாணம் செய்து நம்மை அழைத்திருக்கிறார்கள். அவங்க அதுல முக்கியமா குறிப்பிட்ட விஷயங்கள் என்னன்னு சொன்னா, பிள்ளைகளை இன்றைக்கு பெற்றோர்கள் எவ்வாறு கையாள வேண்டும். எல்லா வீட்லயும் பிள்ளைகள் இருக்காங்க. பிள்ளைகள் வளர்ப்பது பற்றி இஸ்லாம் எவ்வளவு வலியுறுத்தி இருக்கிறது போன்ற விஷயங்களை நம்ம முன்னாடி பகிர்ந்துக்கிட்டாங்க. அதுல எவ்வாறு ஆரம்பித்தார்கள் என்றால், அல்லாஹ் நம்மளுக்கு கொடுத்திருக்கிற ஞாபத் அருட்கொடையிலே மிகப்பெரிய ஞாபகத்தாக, அளவில்லா ஞாபகத்தாக நம்முடைய கண்மணியான பிள்ளைகள் இருக்கிறாங்க. அந்த பிள்ளைகளை ஒழுக்கத்தோடு, தீனோடு, தர்பியத்தோடு எவ்வாறு வளர்க்கணும். அதுல ஒரு உதாரணம் கொடுத்தாங்க. எப்படி ஒரு பறவை அது வானத்தை நோக்கி பறக்குதுன்னு சொன்னா அதுக்கு 2 இறக்கைகள் இருக்கு, விங்ஸ் இருக்கு. அந்த 2 ரெக்கையை கொண்டுதான் அது பறக்குது. அதே போல நம்ம ஏதோ ஒரு இஸ்லாமிய பள்ளிக்கூடத்துல சேர்த்து விட்டுட்டோம், அதோட நம்முடைய கடமை முடிந்தது என்பதாக இல்லை. மாறாக அவங்க வீட்டுக்கு வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் அவங்களுடைய தர்பியத்துடைய விஷயத்துல, அவங்களுடைய தீனுடைய விஷயத்துல நம்மளும் அவங்களோட கை கோர்ந்து அவங்கள உயர பறக்க வைக்கிறதுக்காக, அவங்கள மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு தலைவர்களாக, லீடர்களாக, கான்ட்ரிபியூட்டர்களாக ஆக்குவதற்காக ஸ்கூலும் பெற்றோர்களும் சேர்ந்துதான் அவரை உயரத்துல கொண்டு போக முடியும். வேற சொன்னாங்க, இவ்வாறு நாம் முயற்சி செய்யும் போது இப்படி கிடையாது, பிள்ளைகளை பள்ளிக்கூடத்துல சேர்த்துட்டோம் அவர் சரியாயிடுவாரு, இப்படியும் கிடையாது. இல்ல நான் வீட்டிலே வச்சு தீனுடைய விஷயங்களை சொல்லி கொடுத்துக்கிறேன், என் பிள்ளை சரியாயிடுவான், அப்படின்னு கிடையாது. 2 கை போட்டு நம்ம முயற்சி செய்யும் போதுதான் அதனுடைய பலன் நம்மளுக்கு முழுமையாக கிடைக்கும். அல்லாஹ்வுடைய குர்ஆன்ல அல்லாஹ் கூறியதாக ஒரு ஆயத்தை கோட் பண்ணாங்க. அன்ஃபுஸக்கும் வஅஹ்லீக்கும் நாரா, யா அய்யுஹல்லதீன ஆமனூ அன்ஃபுஸக்கும் வஅஹ்லீக்கும் நாரா, அன்ஃபுஸக்கும் வஅஹ்லீக்கும் நாரா. ஓ ஈமான் கொண்ட மக்களே, உங்களையும் உங்களுடைய குடும்பத்தாரையும் நரக நெருப்பை விட்டு காப்பாற்றிக் கொள்ளுங்கள் என்ற ஆயத்தை கோட் பண்ணி அவங்க ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க. மேலும் நாம் பிள்ளைகளுக்கு சரியான எஜுகேஷன், கல்வியை கொடுப்பது மூலமா அவங்க வாழ்க்கையில வெற்றி அடைய முடியும். அதுல குறிப்பா என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, பிள்ளைகள் பெற்றோர்களை பார்த்துதான் ஏதோ ஒரு சின்ன விஷயத்தையும் கத்துக்கொள்றாங்க. வீட்டுல பெற்றோர்களுடைய நடவடிக்கைகளை பாக்குறாங்க. அவங்க எதை பாக்குறாங்களோ அதை கொண்டு ரொம்ப குயிக்கா, ரொம்ப சீக்கிரமா அதை தன்னுடைய லைஃப்ல அதை எடுத்துக்கக்கூடிய விஷயங்களாக பாக்குறாங்க. பெற்றோர்கள் எதை பேசுறாங்களோ அதுதான் அவங்க பேசுறாங்க. பெற்றோர்கள் தகஜத் தொழுதாங்கன்னு சொன்னா, உதாரணம் சொன்னாங்க, யுகேல எங்க வீட்டுல எங்களுடைய தாய்மார்கள், என்னுடைய அண்ணன், ஒரு சகோதரி, ஒரு சிஸ்டர் சொல்றதாக சொன்னாங்க, எங்க வீட்டுல எல்லாருமே கூட்டான முறையில தகஜத் தொழுவாங்க, அதனால நானும் தகஜத் தொழுவேன். எல்லாருமே 4 மணிக்கு எந்திரிச்சிருவாங்க, அதனால நானும் காலையில 4 மணிக்கு எந்திரிச்சுவேன் சொன்னாங்க. மேலும் இன்னொரு விஷயம் சொன்னாங்க, பெற்றோர்கள் தன்னுடைய பிள்ளைகிட்ட அதிகமான நேரம் கொடுக்கணும், டைம் கொடுக்கணும். டைம் கொடுத்து அவங்களுடைய நலவுகள், அவங்களுடைய தேவைகளை கேட்டு அறிந்து கொள்ளணும். யுகேல ஒரு கருப்புசாரி, அதாவது ஒரு சம்பவம் சொன்னாங்க. ஒரு பையன் தன்னுடைய தந்தைகிட்ட கேட்டானா, நீங்க எவ்வளவு சம்பாதிக்கிறீங்க, எவ்வளவு ஏர்ன் பண்றீங்க, இது எதுக்கு உனக்கு என்பதாக சொன்னாங்க. இல்ல சொல்லுங்க. அவங்க சொன்னாங்கன்னா, நான் இந்த மாதிரி $20 நான் சம்பாதிக்கிறேன், நீங்க எனக்காக டைம் கொடுங்க, நான் உங்களுக்கு எவ்வளவு டாலர் கொடுக்கணும், நீங்க எனக்கு கொஞ்ச நேரம் பேசுங்க என்பதாக சொன்னாங்க. அப்போ பிள்ளைகள், சேட்டை செய்யக்கூடிய பிள்ளைகள், இவங்களை பத்தி சைக்காலஜிக்கலி என்ன ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிருக்காங்கன்னு சொன்னா, அந்த பிள்ளைகள்கிட்ட அதிகமான நேரத்தை பெற்றோர்கள் கொடுப்பதில்லை. மேலும் சொன்னாங்க, ஒரு ட்ரைனிங் அட்டன் பண்ணாங்க ஷேர் அடிக்ஷன் ட்ரைனிங் செஷன் இவங்க அட்டன் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. அதுல ஒரு ரிசர்ச் டாக்டர் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க, அதிகமான கெட்ட பழக்கங்களுக்கு அடிமையாகிறாங்க மாணவர்கள், குழந்தைகள், அதாவது வயதுக்கு வந்த மாணவர்கள் கெட்ட பழக்கத்துக்கு அடிமையாகிறாங்க. அது எப்ப சொன்னா, எப்போது அவங்க தனிமையாவாங்களோ, அவங்கள்ட்ட யாருமே எந்த ஒரு விஷயத்தையும் கலந்துக்கிட மாட்டாங்களோ, அவங்க எப்ப ஒதுக்கப்படுறாங்களோ, எப்ப தனிமைப்படுத்தப்படுறாங்களோ, அப்பதான் அந்த மாணவர் என்ன பண்ணுவாரு, தனக்கு ஏதாவது வேணும் என்பதாக நினைத்து ஏதாவது ஒரு விஷயத்துல தன்னை அடிக்ட் ஆகி கொள்வார். அப்போ உதாரணம் சொன்னாங்க, மொபைல் போன் யூஸ் பண்றது இருக்க, அது வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு அடிக்ஷன் தான். அது எந்த மாதிரி அடிக்ஷன் சொன்னா, அதுல வந்து சில தவறான வீடியோக்கள் பார்க்கும்போது நம்முடைய ஹார்மோன்ல டோபமைன் என்ற ஒரு சுரபி சுரக்குது. அது எப்பேற்பட்ட இதுன்னு சொன்னா, எப்படி சில பேரு புகைப்பிடிக்கிறதுக்கு அடிமையாகிறாங்க, இது போன்ற சில கெட்ட பழக்கங்களுக்கு அடிமையாகிறாங்க. இதே போலதான் நம்முடைய பிள்ளைகளும் அந்த வீடியோக்கள், அந்த விஷயங்களை பார்க்கும்போது அவங்களுடைய ஹார்மோன்ல அந்த சுரப்பி இருக்கு, அந்த டோபமைன் என்ற சுரப்பி சுரக்குது. முதல் தடவை அவர் 1/2 hour ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுவாரு. போக போக காலப்போக்குல பாத்தீங்கன்னு சொன்னா அந்த 1/2 hour வந்து 1 hour ஆகும். அது அடிக்ட் ஆயிட்டு இரவு ஃபுல்லா பயன்படுத்தக்கூடிய நிலைமைக்கு ஆயிருப்பதாக சொன்னாங்க. மேலும் சொன்னாங்க, நம்முடைய பிள்ளைகள்கிட்ட பாசிட்டிவான விஷயங்கள், நல்ல விஷயங்கள், அச்சீவ்மெண்ட், நல்ல விஷயங்களை தான் ஷேர் பண்ணணும், நெகட்டிவான விஷயங்களை ஷேர் பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்னு சொன்னாங்க. ஒரு பெற்றோர் தன்னுடைய பிள்ளைகிட்ட உட்கார்ந்து பேசும்போது நல்ல பாசிட்டிவான, நல்ல என்ன சொல்றது, அவர் முன்னாடி நீ நல்ல ஆளா வருவப்பா, நீ பெரிய டாக்டரா வந்து எல்லாத்துக்கும் நீ வந்து சேவை செய்யணும், இது போன்ற நல்ல விஷயத்தான் ஷேர் பண்ணணும். நெகட்டிவான விஷயம் எதையுமே ஷேர் பண்ணக்கூடாது என்பதான் சொன்னாங்க. எப்போ ஒரு மாணவன் டீனேஜ் பருவத்தை அடையிறானோ, அப்ப அவன் அதிகமா என்ன எதிர்பார்க்கிறான்னு சொன்னா, தன்னுடைய பெற்றோர் தன்கிட்ட வந்து பழகணும், ஒரு ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஷிப் வச்சுக்கணும், அம்மா என்கிட்ட வந்து நல்லா பேசணும், அப்பா என்கிட்ட வந்து நல்லா பேசணும் என்பதாக அவன் விரும்புறான். மேலும் அதிகமான உதாரணம் கொடுத்தாங்க. உதாரணத்துக்கு சவுத் அமெரிக்கா என்ற ஒரு கண்டத்துல பாத்தீங்கன்னா சொன்னா, அர்ஜென்டினா, கயானா, சிலி போன்ற கண்ட்ரிகள்ல 100 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்பதாக அரபுகள் குடிபெயர்ந்தாங்க, மைக்ரேட் பண்ணி வந்தாங்க. அப்ப அதிகமான மஸ்ஜிதுகள் அங்க இருந்துச்சு. ஆனா அதோட நிலைமை இன்னைக்கு என்னன்னு சொன்னா, எத்தனையோ மஸ்ஜிதுகள் லைப்ரரியாக, ஸ்டோர் கீப்பிங், அதாவது ஸ்டோர்ஸாக, எத்தனையோ மஸ்ஜிதுகள் வந்து பிளே கிரவுண்டாக இந்த மாதிரி மாறிவிட்டது. என்ன காரணம்னு சொன்னா, தன்னுடைய தர்பியத்துல, தன்னுடைய தீன்ல கிட்டத்தட்ட 100 வருஷம் என்பது 3 ஜெனரேஷன், 3 தலைமுறை என்பதாக சொன்னாங்க. 96% 96% என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னு சொன்னா, இஸ்லாத்தை விட்டு வெளியேறிட்டாங்க என்பதாக சொன்னாங்க. அதிகமான விஷயங்கள் நம்மகிட்ட சொன்னாங்க. போனை கொடுக்கறது இருக்கே, அது வந்து கத்தியை கொடுக்கறதுக்கு சமம். எப்படி ஒரு தவறான ஒரு கத்தியை கொடுக்கும் போது இது எதுக்கு பயன்படுத்தணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கொடுப்போமோ, அந்த மாதிரிதான் போனை கொடுக்கும் போதும் நம்ம அவங்கள்ட்ட கொடுக்கணும் என்பதாக சொன்னாங்க. மேலும் சொன்னாங்க, அல்லாஹ் நமக்கு கொடுத்த பிள்ளைகள் சரியான இஸ்லாமிய மார்க்க கல்வி கொடுப்பதுல முக்கியத்துவம் கொடுக்கணும். நம்மளுடைய பிள்ளைகளுக்கு எத்தனையோ பெற்றோர்கள் இப்படி இருக்கிறாங்க, போன சும்மா தொழுதாச்சு, இந்த சும்மா தொழுதா போதும், போன முறை நான் ரம்சான்ல தொழுக போனேன், இப்ப தொழுதா போதும், இது உதாரணம் கொடுத்தாங்க. அப்படி அல்ல, ஒவ்வொரு தொழுகையும் நம்ம வந்து கண்காணிக்க வேண்டும். இன்னொரு உதாரணம் சொன்னாங்க, ஒரு அம்மா வந்து தன்னுடைய பிள்ளைகிட்ட கேட்டாங்கன்னா, சுகர் தொழுகையான்னு கேட்டாங்க. இல்லைன்னு சொன்னா அதிகமான மக்கள் ஆங்கிரி, அதாவது கோவப்படுவாங்க. கோவப்படாம ஒருத்தங்க கோவப்படாம சந்தோஷப்படணும். ஏன்னு சொன்னா அவர் உண்மையை சொல்லிக்கிறார். தொழுகலைங்கிற விஷயத்த ஒத்துக்கிறார். அப்ப அவர் சந்தோஷப்பட்டு அவரை மோட்டிவேட் பண்ணும், அவரை வந்து ஊக்குவிக்கணும். சரி, தொழுகலை எப்படி தொழுதுப்பா சொன்னாங்க. வேற சொன்னாங்க, நம்முடைய பிள்ளைகளுடைய நேரத்தை பிஸியாக்கணும். அவங்களுடைய ஸ்கெடியூல், அவங்களுடைய நேரத்தை ஏதாவது ஒரு ஆக்டிவிட்டி மூலியமா, அதற்காக யூகேல வந்து அதிகமான கிளப் ஆக்டிவிட்டி கண்டக்ட் பண்றாங்க. ஆர்ட் அண்ட் கிராஃப்ட் ஆக்டிவிட்டி, அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய கண்டக்ட் பண்ணி அவங்களை வந்து எப்போ தனிமையா இருக்காங்களோ, தனியா ஒரு ரூம்ல இருக்காங்களோ, நேரம் நிறைய இருக்கோ, அப்பதான் அவங்க யோசிப்பாங்க, இப்ப நான் என்ன பண்ணலாம். அப்பதான் அவங்க போன் எடுப்பாங்க, அப்பதான் அவங்க நெட்ல சர்ச் பண்ணுவாங்க, வெப்சைட்ல போவாங்க. அப்ப எப்ப அவங்க பிஸியாவே இருக்காங்களோ, ஏதாவது ஒரு ஆக்டிவிட்டியில பிஸியாவே இருக்காங்களோ, தவறான எண்ணம் அவங்களுக்கு ஏற்படாது. கடைசியா சொன்னாங்க, நபி ஸல்லல்லாஹு அலைஹி வஸல்லம் ஹதீஸ கொண்டு முடிச்சாங்க. மரணம் வந்து எல்லாத்துக்கும் வந்தே தீரும், யாரும் அதுல தப்பிக்க முடியாது. ஆனா மௌத்துக்கு பின்னாடி நம்ம எந்த ஒரு அமல் செய்ய முடியாது. சதக்கா, சக்காத், தொழுகை போன்ற எந்த விஷயமும் செய்ய முடியாது. ஆனா 3 விஷயம் நம்மளுக்கு வந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும். அதுல முதல்ல சதக்கத்துல் ஜாரியா, ஒரு ஒரு ஸ்கூல் உருவாக்குறது, ஒரு மஸ்ஜித் உருவாக்குறது. இரண்டாவது சொன்னாங்க பிள்ளைகளுக்கு, அதாவது மார்க்க கல்வி, கற்றுக்கொண்ட மார்க்க கல்வி, இதன் மூலியமா வந்து நம்மளுக்கு பலன் கடைசி வந்திருக்கு. அதுல முக்கியமான ஒரு விஷயம் என்னன்னு சொன்னா சாலிகான பிள்ளை. அந்த சாலிகான பிள்ளை செய்யக்கூடிய நல்ல அமல்கள், அவர் குர்ஆன் ஓதுவாரு, அவர் நற்காரியங்கள் செய்வாரு, நல்ல உதவிகள் செய்வாரு. இது எல்லாமே அந்த பெற்றோருக்கு அவங்க கபூர்ல இருந்தாலும் அவருக்கு கிடைச்சுக்கிட்டே இருக்கும். மேலும் இது போன்ற நல்ல விஷயங்களை சொல்லி என்ன செஞ்சாங்கன்னா இந்த செஷனை முடிச்சாங்க ஷேக். அல்லாஹ் தஆலா அவங்களுக்கு துனியாவிலும் ஆகிரத்திலும் மேலான பரக்கத்துகளையும் நல்வதை தருவானாக. நம்முடைய பிள்ளைகளை தன்மையாவுடைய சாலிகான பிள்ளைகளாக இருக்கு அல்லாஹ் தௌஃபீக் செய்வான்.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank the Honorable Chief Guest, Jazakallah, for the wonderful and valuable session. உங்க எல்லார்கிட்டையும் கையில பேப்பர் கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. அது எதுக்குன்னு வந்து நான் ஒரு 5 minutes சொல்றேன். சொல்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி இந்த செஷனுடைய நோக்கம் என்ன, இது வெறும் ஒரு சைடுடைய உரையாடலான்றது கேட்டா இல்ல. இது ஆக்சுவலி ஒரு மனிதன் தன்னுடைய இயல்புனால எல்லா விஷயத்தையும் சிறு வயதிலிருந்து பெரு வயது வரை என்னென்ன அங்கங்கள் இருக்கோ லைஃப்ல, அந்த எல்லா அங்கத்திலையும் எந்த விஷயம் பண்ணாலும் அதை கத்துக்கிட்டு பண்ணணுன்ற ஒரு நேச்சர் அவங்கிட்ட இருக்கு. உதாரணமா சொல்லணும்னா, அதிகமான நேரம் ஒரு ஆண் செலவழிக்கிறது வந்து தன்னுடைய ஆபீஸ்லயோ வேலை பார்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு தொழிலையோ தான் இருக்கும். அது கத்துக்கிறதுக்கு 4 வருஷம் பட்டதாரி கோர்ஸ் இருக்கு, 3 வருஷம் கோர்ஸ் படிக்கிறாங்க. எல்லா விஷயத்தையும் என்னென்ன ஒரு தொழில் இருக்கோ, எய்தர் இட் இஸ் ப்ரொஃபஷனல் செக்டர், இல்ல ஒயிட் காலர் ஜாப்ஸ், இல்ல ப்ளூ காலர் ஜாப்ஸ் இருக்கு, இல்ல ஒரு எலக்ட்ரிஷியன் ஆகணும், ஒரு பிளம்பர் ஆகணும், எந்த ஒரு சின்ன விஷயம் தொழில் செஞ்சாலும், எவ்வளவு பெரிய தொழில் செஞ்சாலும் அந்த தொழில செய்யறதுக்கான ஒரு முறைய கத்துக்கிட்டு தான் செய்வாங்க. அதே மாதிரி ஒரு பெண் எடுத்துட்டீங்கன்னா தன்னுடைய வாழ்க்கையில அதிகமான நேரம் செலவழிக்கக்கூடிய எல்லா அங்கங்கள், நிறைய விஷயங்கள் அவங்க செய்வாங்க. வேலை இருக்குது, வீட்டு சைடு இருக்கு, சின்ன விஷயம் எடுத்தாலும் டெய்லி 3 வேளை சமைப்பாங்க. அது ஒரு சின்ன விஷயம், ஆனா டெய்லி பண்ணுவாங்க. அது கத்துக்காம யாராச்சும் செஞ்சாங்கன்னு கேட்டா கிடையாது. ஒரு தாய்மார் கண்டிப்பா வந்து தன்னோட பிள்ளைகளுக்கு, இல்ல வீட்டுல இருக்கிற பெரியவங்க தன்னுடைய பசங்களுக்கு அதை கத்துக் கொடுப்பாங்க. எல்லா விஷயத்தையுமே கத்துக்கிட்டு செய்யற நாம 2 விஷயத்துல மட்டும் அதை அப்படியே வாழையடி வாழையாக என்ன வருதோ, இல்ல டெய்லி என்ன நடக்குதோ அது அப்படியே பண்ற மாதிரி பண்ணிடணும். ஒண்ணு, மேரேஜ் அஸ் an இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். கல்யாணம் ஏன் பண்ணுறோம், கல்யாணத்துக்கு அப்புறம் நம்மளோட ரோல் என்ன சேஞ்ச் ஆகுது. சரி, கல்யாணத்திலயாச்சும் கொஞ்சம் பரவாயில்ல, அட்லீஸ்ட் வந்து தாய்மார் வந்து தன் பெண் குழந்தைகிட்ட சொல்லி அனுப்புவாங்க, மாமியார் வீட்டுல போனா இப்படி இருக்கணும், மாமியார் கிட்ட இப்படி இருக்கணும், நாத்தனார் கிட்ட இப்படி இருக்கணும், so on and so forth. ஆனா ஒரு ஆண் கிட்ட இந்த மாதிரி விஷயத்த பெருசா ஒன்றும் பேசுறது இல்லை. மேரேஜ் அண்ட் இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ல நம்ம என்ன எதுல போக்கஸ் பண்ணுவோம், என்ன ஷாப்பிங் பண்ணலாம், நிறைய விஷயங்கள் இருக்கு. ஆனா இந்த மாதிரி இன்னொரு விஷயம், பிள்ளைங்களை வளர்க்கிற விஷயத்துல மட்டும் நாங்க அது எப்படி பண்ணோன்ற விஷயத்த கத்துக்கிறதே கிடையாது. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு விஷயம் இருக்குறதே தெரியாது. தன்னுடைய தகப்பனார் அவங்களுக்கு மேல இருக்கிறவங்க என்னென்னலாம் எந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் ட்ரீட் பண்ணாங்களோ அது சப்கான்சியஸ்லயே ட்ரீட் பண்ணிடுறோம் நம்ம பசங்களை. அது முதல்ல கரெக்டான்றதும் தெரியல. சரி, அந்த காலகட்டத்துக்கு முறையான அந்த செயல் இந்த காலத்துக்கு அது கரெக்டா இருக்குமா அதுவும் தெரியாது. ஒரு சிம்பிளான விஷயம், இதோட எம்பசிஸ் நான் பண்ணோம். என்ன எம்பசிஸ் இருக்குன்னா, ஒரு 50 வருஷம் எடுத்துட்டீங்கன்னா அதுக்கு 50 வருஷத்துல நமக்கும் நம்மளோட தகப்பனாருக்கு எடுத்துட்டீங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு நடுவுல ஒரு ஜெனரேஷன் கேப் இருக்கு. அவங்களுடைய தகப்பனார் எடுத்துட்டீங்கன்னா அங்க ஒரு ஜெனரேஷன் கேப் இருக்கு. ஆனா இந்த காலத்துல வளரும் வேகத்துல எவ்ரி 5 இயர்ஸ் 5 வருஷத்துல ஒரு ஜெனரேஷன் கேப் ஆகுது. உங்க பிள்ளைங்க 2 பிள்ளைங்களுக்கு நடுவுல ஒரு 5 வருஷம் கேப் இருந்துச்சுன்னா ஒருத்தர் சிந்திக்கிற மாதிரி இன்னொரு பிள்ளை சிந்திக்க மாட்டாங்க. Parenting has become a very nuanced art right now. அதை நீங்க வந்து கத்துக்கிட்டு தான் செய்யணும். அதை கத்துக்கிட்டு செஞ்சா நிறைய பிரச்சனைகள்ல இருந்து விடுவிக்க முடியும்ன்ற ஒரு நம்பிக்கை, அது பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிதான் உங்க கையில ஒரு பேப்பர் கொடுத்திருக்கோம். இந்த ஒரு உரையாடல் வந்து வெறும் ஒன் டைம் செஷன் அல்ல. வந்தாங்க, சொல்லிட்டு போயிட்டாங்க, சில டிப்ஸ் கொடுத்தாங்க. ஆனா நம்ம லைஃப்ல வாழ வேண்டியதுக்கு நிறைய விஷயங்கள் இன்னும் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண வேண்டியது இருக்கு. அதனால உங்க வீட்டுல பேரண்டிங் மூலியமா நடக்கக்கூடிய பிரச்சனைல ஒரு 3 பிரஸிங் இஷ்யூஸ், கீ பிரஸிங் இஷ்யூஸ், பசங்கள் கூட இல்ல இண்டிவிஜுவல் லெவல்ல ஏதோ ஒரு இஷ்யூ இருக்குன்னா அந்த 3 பிரஸிங் இஷ்யூஸ் பத்தி நீங்க இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா அதுல இருக்கிற காமனான என்னென்ன டாபிக்ஸ் இருக்கோ அந்த டாபிக்ஸ் எடுத்து அந்த அந்த டாபிக்ஸ்ல ஒரு ஒர்க் ஷாப் கண்டக்ட் பண்ணுவோம். அதுல ஒரு பிரஸிங் இஷ்யூஸ்க்கு என்ன சொல்யூஷன் இருக்கு, இந்த காலத்துக்கு ஏத்தாப்புல அதை எப்படி இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணலாம், அதை பத்தி எல்லாமே ஒர்க் ஷாப் மாதிரி கண்டக்ட் பண்ணுவோம். ஒர்க் ஷாப்னா உரையாடலா இருக்கும். இட் வில் பி a two-way கம்யூனிகேஷன். கேள்விகள் கேட்கப்படும், பதில்கள் கூறப்படும். இதை ஒரு செஷனா இல்லாம ஒரு டாபிக் ஒரு செஷனா இன்ஷால்லா வீக்லி ஆர் பை வீக்லி we'll consult with the management and we'll be continuing the session. இதெல்லாம் இன்ஷால்லா வரக்கூடிய சில நாட்கள்ல இதெல்லாம் நடக்கும். Requesting all the parents to write 3 pressing issues related to parenting so that and give it to the concerned people, and then we'll take each topic and we'll be conducting workshop on it. Jazakallah khair. And one more request for all the parents is please have a word of mouth with other parents, your other students' parents, your friends circle, so that other parents can also get benefit. Jazakallah khair.
Just the question is, would you recommend any good books of this concept of positive parenting, the light of Islam? Quite a few things based on the experience. There should be a teacher and have a good view of this. See the children behave in a certain way and also identify the problem for the lack of love at home that this kid is behaving in such a manner, right? Lack of attention and time, seeking attention. We are able to see these concepts and map. Where do we get to do that, right? So any books also that you have been referring to, which you could recommend to us as parents and which you think would be helpful for us in implementing positive parenting tips and things like that.
Jazakumullah for that question. I do appreciate that question. I think it's an important point as to be able to study further of what can be done if you wanted to look at different ways in which to manage a child, assist your child. So in terms of books, there is one that we have published ourselves, which is known as the Muslim Guide to Parenting. It's a very simple book. The idea behind it is to simplify and make easy step-by-step approach, practical book, practical steps that will allow a parent to hopefully have a good outcome, inshallah. Secondly, in terms of research, there's one book I like to read recently, which is known as The Science of Learning. So it is more for teachers. There's a number of, so what is this 99 research papers which have been summarized into 2 pages each. So a summary of 2 pages of each research paper. If you give me a research paper of 100, 200 pages, I will not be able to read it. And of course, there's the solutions and the conclusions, they are very difficult to come to. But this book is called The Science of Learning. It has many research papers, even related to the mentality and the mindset of the parents, a growth mindset, a fixed mindset, the ability to build resilience, what to do with the use of mobile phones. There's a number of research papers in there that parents can also benefit from.
The book which you mentioned, Nasiha from yourself,
It's known as the Guide to Muslim Parent.
is it available for us to buy and something, or how do we get
It is,
access to it?
it's online at the moment. But we can have it available here in the school.
Any questions? Can we
You can ask your question or let me also translate it.
You can also ask in Urdu.
Ladies, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See, one of the questions which has been dropping, I'm going to talk about not only me as a parent, but also the other parents as well, for one year. Like when we have more than one child at home, and one of the child is obedient or prospering good in studies, and one of the child is not saying not obedient, but was obedient at some point of time. And for some obvious reasons, he's been getting distracted, and he's a good child, of course. So how do we address those issues, keeping in mind that child does not get offended, at the same time we motivate the child and ensure that he's back on track, and like he used to prosper, the earlier he gets prospered again. So,
Jazakallah for that question. That happens usually when you have a big age gap. For example, one child is 14, 15 years old, and the other one is 5, 6 years old, for example. At the age of 6, 7, 8, even 9, it's easy to mold the child. And so when the child is with you, they will listen to you, they will want to be with you. When they get to 13, 14 years old, they are less with you, and they will listen less as well. So how do you manage it between both of them? When sometimes one child has become, as mentioned, less obedient, for example, right? It's a difficult situation because you have to be fair. One thing that children will pick up on is unfairness from the parent. So we cannot be unfair in front of our children. We've got to be fair with all of our children, not favoring one over the other. But what I would suggest is, in order to create a good environment in the home, there shouldn't be a battle in the house between the parent and the children. If your child has become disobedient or to some degree, then it shouldn't become a battle. When you start having a battle with your child of to and fro, this and that, then they start to shut down more. They stop listening to you, and now it becomes beyond repair from yourself, and you need to use an external partner. So the suggestion would be that in such a situation, the first thing is try to find out what that child enjoys and likes, and share those moments with them. When you share those moments with them, they feel valued by their parents. When they feel valued by the parents, they are more likely to listen. When they're more likely to listen, not advice. You don't need to give them, sit them down, be better, and I'm going to give you some advices. We're not giving them advice. What we're doing is we're just living life with them. When we're living life with them, they will learn many points without us even actively telling them those points. So if you find out what they enjoy those things with them. And when you enjoy those things with them, then we start slowly bringing them onto activities that we want them to be doing. So Islamic activities, maybe taking them to the masjid, programs here and there, doing X, Y, and Z together, which is going to be collected with everything. So to summarize, what we want to do is we want to find out what our child enjoys. When we find out what they enjoy, do those things with them, and you win them over. I don't have a pattern. If you have a pattern, they switch off. When they switch off, the problem becomes worse. So hopefully, inshallah, that assistance will be clear.
You take the question from the mother's side, you know?
So this is we're going to finish soon, even we need to go on the train. I think, of course, it's a challenging situation, especially when it comes to the father and mother having to work. Many times in the UK, it happens where the mother not only has to work in the house, but the mother is also working out of the house because they cannot pay and speak. There is not enough for them to look after the family. The father is working outside, the mother is also working outside, and the mother is then coming home and looking after the household activities as well. It is a very challenging situation, very difficult, and in such a situation, what I would say is to make intentional time which you spend together with your children. You make specific time where you just sit with them and you enjoy time with them by talking to them, ask them how their day went, what they did, even if it is for a short amount of time. But if it is something consistent, something that is regular, then you will see that it will make an impact. Just like a drop of water on stone, eventually will make an effect. Similarly, in such a situation which is challenging and difficult, if you were to find a moment which you can enjoy on a regular basis, ideally a daily basis, but a short moment, where the children know that you are there for them, nothing else. No mobile phone is involved, no homework is involved, no work is involved. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sit together. How was the day? What did you do? How did you enjoy? And you will see that, inshallah, you will bring them over and you will be able to make the tarbiyah in a short amount of time as well, even if it is just before going to sleep.
So first of all, I would like to thank and appreciate for the time and the discourse you have given. So there are one question that I have is with respect to the environment we are in. So which we all acknowledge that it's like mostly a non-Muslim environment. And the challenge that I face is like with respect to the trends that are happening, be it listening to music and having birthday parties and all these things, and my take is very young. And I frequently have to say, daughter, this is not allowed and this we should not be doing. And when I see from her perspective, like, okay, my dad is like saying a lot of don'ts. And she, and maybe she is not that mature to understand that, okay, this is from a bigger perspective that my dad is telling. But when I see, like, I'm telling, okay, don't do this from an Islamic perspective. So how do we address this? I don't want her to think, okay, we are living in such a restrictive thing. I don't want her to feel that, but at the same time, understand that it is important.
Very, very good point you mentioned. Islam is not just about halal and haram. It's not just about don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. That's of course not what Islam is about. There's lots of ways, one Maulana Mufti Sahab actually, he asked a group of ulama over there. He said to them, how many of you have been on first class flight? So maybe one or two of them put their hand up. And the Mufti Sahab said, I have been on first class flight because of the points that he has amassed in travels around the world. And then, as an example, he said that being a Mufti and being a religious scholar doesn't mean you cannot have fun. You cannot enjoy it. The point you mentioned is very important because there's so many things in the world. We say, tell your children, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But what do? So we have to provide them with an alternative. For example, one thing that we always do, on the day of Eid, many times Eid is the day to sleep, right? After a heavy morning, the whole of afternoon is what is sleeping. And many times children are not able to enjoy the beauty of Eid, the gifting on Eid, the family time on Eid, because of various reasons. So we need to try to give our children positive experiences of our Eid, not just Eid, of course. And Eid time, we spend extra time decorating the house, making sure that we buy some gifts for everyone, even if it is a small gift. At other occasions, Ramadan, preparing for that. Not just that, but at different times of the year. For example, Hajj is going to be coming up, Ramadan is coming up as well. At that time, doing activities with your children, which they can enjoy and celebrate. You want to buy them a cake? We don't do birthdays. There's no cake for birthdays. But that doesn't mean you cannot buy a cake to celebrate their achievement. You know, they achieved something very nice, they enjoy cake. Why not buy a cake? Congratulations for doing X, Y, and Z. So we have to, and like you said, we have to be very intentional about finding the opportunities to say yes. That yes, we do this, yes, we do this, and yes, we do that. And instead of just saying no, we try to explain to them why we're saying. Don't say no, we're not allowed to do this in Haram. But why don't we do it? As Muslims, we affirm the good, and automatically the bad will be put to the side. And so we have to try to find those opportunities and enjoy good time with them, and see, inshallah, that we'll be able to enjoy time with our children.
One last question from the mother's side. Inshallah, proceed to the next.
So I did mention that we should monitor the technology use of our children. There's many free tools out there. For example, Google has a family protection plan. If you have an Android phone, then your children will be tagged with your Android maybe as well. The family protection plan, you can monitor what your children are doing, and it's free of charge. And along with that, as a final point, is that sometimes the parents feel that my children are overburdened. They are taking a half in the and at the same time, I want my child also be successful in the dunya. Have a degree, have a control, be successful. We have this problem difficulty. So then we only have to look at what we see around the world. For example, where I teach myself, the children are coming and studying and at the same time, schooling, they are graduating as an RN, as a RE, and also as a qualified teacher at the one within 8 years. And not just that, but they are doing masters in education, they are doing degrees of various sorts, becoming pharmacists, becoming engineers, and being an RN at the same time, and being an artist at the same time. So it's not impossible. Sometimes we have this mindset that if I was to overburden my child to make them do this, and that it's not possible. And if I was more than capable of doing it, we just want to give them the opportunity.
Jazakallah, sir. And we have few prize distributions under the category of general proficiency and attendance. Let's move on to general proficiency for boys. We start from class 6th and C section. We have Ashfaq Salam. I request all the parents to encourage the students by saying, MashaAllah. Next, we have Firas from class 7th standard C section. MashaAllah. Muhammad Arshad from 7th standard D section. Muhammad Muzammil from 9th standard C section. Muhammad Kalamia from 9th standard D section.
Now moving on to items. First, for class 6C, we have governance. There's one more award left to be given in gender proficiency. That's on class 11D. After 7th hour, now moving on to first, for class 6C, we have governance. 6D, government aspect. Seventy, short. I have one of the data from my seat. I have one.
Students of class 11 took part in successful chemistry explore competition and won a second place, and the participants are next Muhammad and Muhammad Ashraf of class 11. MashaAllah. Student of class 8 took part in inter-school science math competition held by Sharfunisa Begum Sahib Educational Center, and a student won the second place. And the student is Syed Ibrahim of class 8 standard D section. MashaAllah.
I'm happy to know, or I'm happy to say about Sheikh as well. He acquired his PhD in Arabic, so we have something with him, made a lot of effort, and he became Dr. Paul. And our school really want to acknowledge and really want to give some reward for the achievement that he got as PhD. That I request if you can give award Dr. Dhamma. It's a pleasure to say award. Thank you. Student of class 8B, took part in the inter-school competition, science maths competition. Thereby, service academic family of the second place. Participant name is Syed Ibrahim of 7.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Distinguished guests, honorable correspondent, respected principal, dear teachers, and my dear parents. Esteemed the parents, teachers, and our distinguished chief guest, Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Qasim. As we draw this enlightening parenting session to a close, I stand before you with a deep sense of gratitude. Your presence here today has added immense value to this gathering. Your commitment to understanding and enhancing this journey of parenthood is truly commendable. I extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for actively participating, sharing insights, and contributing to the vibrant discussions. Your eagerness to invest time and effort in nurturing the next generation reflects a profound dedication to the well-being and growth of your children. A special expression of gratitude is reserved for our esteemed chief guest, Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Qasim. Sir, your presence has been a source of inspiration and your wealth of knowledge has enriched us all. Your tireless effort in advancing Islamic education, both in traditional settings and through modern approaches, serve as a guiding light for parents and educators alike. We are sincerely grateful for this invaluable wisdom and experiences you have shared with the parents today. Mr. Sheikh Mohammed Qasim's multifaceted contributions as an educator, COO, and passionate advocate for Islamic studies have left an indelible mark on each one's hearts and minds. In closing, I want to thank everyone once again for being an integral part of this meaningful gathering. May the insights gained today empower all the parents to nurture strong, compassionate, and resilient individuals. Let's carry the spirit of learning as parents continue the journey of parenting together. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me call Muhammad Ashfaq of class 11 for dua.
رب ارحمهما كما ربيانا صغارا ألف لام ميم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم قال بالوجود الحي القيوم يا أخذ الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم انصر الإخوان المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم انصر الإخوان المسلمين في فلسطين اللهم انصر الإخوان المسلمين في فلسطين اللهم انصر الإخوان المسلمين في فلسطين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب.
As the chief guest is about to leave, he has a recurrent journey now. If any leftover questions will be taken, if at all there is any leftover questions. कोई और सवाल है?